good morning, everyone. All right, so we got a beautiful sunny day here in Macomb County to kick off our Macomb Next, our Industry 4.0 workshop. We have a phenomenal agenda, packed agenda. I'll go through that in a little bit today. I'm Vicky Rowinski. I'm the director here for Macomb County Planning and Economic Development. Before we kick this off, actually I got a phenomenal message from our county executive who could not be here, but maybe perhaps he will be here towards the end of the event. But if you can kick that video for us.
Thanks again, Vicky. Although I can't be there right now, I wanted to be at the forefront of this to make sure that we got this message across that we want to welcome our business partners. Vicky, being a part of this program with the planning department, you're in great hands. I got to tell you, they do it better than any other planning department anywhere else in the state. And I don't say that just because they're Macomb County's planning department. It's because I get to see the work a lot of these folks do. But with that being said, I do want to thank the MEDC for the grant to allow this program to take place. And so this Macomb Next Industry 4.0 is going to be important for your business here in Macomb County, and we know that. And so we're committed to try to figure out how do we advance technology so that you can advance your organization here in Macomb County and even beyond. So whether you're in agriculture, defense, automotive, even aerospace, or even the retail sector, we know how important technology is going to be, and we want to be there with you as your business partner. It's no secret, Macomb County has always been a leader in manufacturing, and these new technologies are going to help advance your company, whether it's locally, nationally, or even around the globe. And our business team here wants to continue to try to figure out how do we work with you as a business partner to make that happen. So again, I'm going to try to get there, but I want to make sure at the forefront of this, I just said welcome. And once again, thank Vicky and her team for doing what it is they do on behalf of businesses here in Macomb County. So with that, I want to turn it back over to our expert, Vicky Rowinski.
Awesome, perfect, thank you, Mark Hackle. So Mark is our Chief Marketing Officer here at Macomb County. Really does understand what we're doing, how we're transforming the way businesses operate and the way they do business in the county. And so it's phenomenal to have that. I can go over the agenda real quick. It is pretty packed. We have a lot to cover in these next 2.5 hours. We do have a keynote for our friends over at MMTC, Michigan Manufacturing Technology Company, will be our keynote. Followed by that, we are going to be talking about our workforce. When we talk about Industry 4.0, there's the technology piece, but then there also is that workforce piece, where it's two spectrums coming together at the same exact time, making sure that we've got the talent to fill the need for the new technology that's hitting the floors, and so you'll hear from that. What's also really unique today, at your tables, we have invited students. So we've got some high school students here, if you guys can raise your hands, as well as some college students. These individuals are very bright, they're in the right space, they're very interested in careers in manufacturing, technology, and robotics, so I encourage you guys to meet with these students, have conversations with them. We will have a networking break. I will tell you, throughout the morning, we will have the opportunity for you guys to commence, to talk. You guys are a very talkative group, I can already tell, so we'll make sure we incorporate that into the networking break. As mentioned in the beginning, we do have some drawings happening, so if you want to throw your business card at our table, which is over here, MMTC has some phenomenal prizes, something called a dragon, if you want to throw your business card at their table, and then I believe our friends at Light Guide also have some drawings, so just make sure you visit those vendors, all the vendors in the room today, and then we'll introduce kind of what does this ecosystem look like. From our perspective, it's not just Macomb County Planning and Economic Development that's trying to rise up this awareness with Industry 4.0. You know, the term, it takes a village, well, it takes a county. We've got a lot of partners around the room, want you guys to get to know these businesses, get to know these organizations, because ultimately we're all part of that solution when we look at what is our future goal with Industry 4.0. All right, so I want to take a minute and talk about what is Macomb Next and why is this important to the county, not just the county, but the state of Michigan. Last year, we did receive a grant through the MEDC, that's the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, to really produce an Industry 4.0 awareness campaign. How many of you guys are just familiar with that term, Industry 4.0? Quite a few. So I had to do some research on this and figure out when did that term come to be. And in fact, that term came to be in 2011. So it's only really been around for about 10 years. It was actually a strategy produced by the German government to really emphasize what's happening in automation and robotics for Germany and their overall strategy. And it was that infusion of just not robotics, but software technology. So the term's been around for about 10 years. And I want us to go back and think, what was 2011 like for us? Which is pretty interesting, so I had to do some fun fact digging, what happened in 2011. In 2011, we had Blackberries. Did anybody own a Blackberry? I have a few hands up. But the market was changing. That's where your Androids and your iPhones came out. 2011 was also when Surrey was introduced. So I don't know if you guys had that iPhone 4S, but that's when Surrey came to be. For some of the students in the room, this is when Snapchat was first created, which is a pretty profound platform right now for our youth. Also Nintendo 3DS. So that was one of those gaming systems that made it really popular. But there's also some pretty significant things happening in the world as far as digital. Blockbuster was still around in 2011, but Netflix came in and in 2011 said, if you guys remember, they started off as a DVD mail platform. You would order your DVD in the mail and you would mail it back to them. Do you guys remember that? And in 2011, Netflix said, we're gonna go fully digital online streaming. And their stocks crashed. People did not want to give up that DVD. But when we talk about technology and transformations, that was a pretty significant pivot for us as a society. And it continues to grow. Now, the concepts of our Macomb Next, what we were able to identify is 9 specific pillars that are pretty significant in this space. They include cybersecurity, virtual and augmented reality, big data and analytics, which if you look at what is one of the top jobs out there, it's in this space. Automation and robotics. I want to go back to industrial robots have been around since the 50s, 1950s. So they've been around. But once we started adding software and digitalization and these robots started talking to each other across the world, across the country, it now entered into that Industry 4.0 space. In fact, today, we have over 3 billion industrial robots out there. And there was that concern of what will robots do to the workforce? Am I gonna lose my job? Even today, they're still talking about how robots are replacing individuals. But what we're finding, and we're finding that here in Macomb County as well, that it's creating some greater paying jobs. And so we've got to do really good work in upskilling that workforce to meet those demands. When we look at our numbers, and I want to go back to that number, that year 2011 in Macomb County, comparing 2011 to where we are today, our manufacturing workforce increased by 19%. And so overall we saw a significant increase, but not major. But where we saw the greatest increase in our workforce was professional services. That is your engineer. That particular work group increased by 109% over the past 10 years. So when we talk about the transformation, when we talk about what does it look like, not just for the technology, but that workforce piece of it, it's happening here in Macomb County. And we want to continue to see that. So when we throw out that name Macomb Next, it really is what are you bringing next to Macomb County, and how can we assist? So without further ado, as I mentioned, we've got a very packed agenda. So I want to bring up our keynote speaker. MMTC is a phenomenal partner for us. I know a lot of you in the room did meet with MMTC for some of your initial assessments. I want to throw a little bug out there before I have Chuck come in. The state of Michigan, MEDC, right now is going in front of their strategic board requesting funds for assistance for businesses that really want to maybe perhaps invest in capital equipment for this, this advancement, this Industry 4.0 revolution. That's happening today. So fingers crossed that money gets approved, because ultimately we want those dollars to trickle down to our Macomb County businesses. We will keep you informed. But MMTC, as well as Automation Alley, are the partners in this program. And so you do need to get that assessment in order to be eligible for those dollars. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're listening to Chuck. Chuck Werner is a manager of operational excellence. He also is an LSS Master Black Belt. He's had over 30 years experience working in manufacturing facilities. He has seen this in action. And so without further ado, Chuck, I will hand off the remote.
Can everybody hear me? Great, because I hate podiums. So we're going to talk today about affordable technology solutions. A lot of times we do the educational. Thank you very much for the background. We're talking a little bit about Industry 4.0. I want to talk about how it applies to your business and how it helps, because business is changing overall, how we run it, how we staffed it, right? So already introduced, I'm the plant guy, 30 years Tier 1 automotive manufacturing. A couple other faces though that I want to make you familiar with. Over in the back corner, when we get to networking, we see Michael McGray, who has had 20 years IT/OT experience. He worked with the University of Michigan, been with us for quite a while, and Bob Scipio, who is a controls and electrical and automation engineer. So if you have any questions in that area, please make sure you touch base and have a conversation. Additionally, we have Pete and Tricia, who's seated in the back. She is waving, of our business solutions. So, you know, any questions you might have, look this up. How many people are familiar with MMTC? Outstanding, you can move along. So, been around for about 30 years. Folks, we're here to help work on your business, because I've been in manufacturing long enough to know that we spend most of our time working in our business and just trying to kind of tread water and fight fires. So there's two ways to look at Industry 4.0, and this is my least favorite. Everybody seems to talk about Industry 4.0 as an extinction level event, meaning if you don't have a 3D printer in the next 6 months, your children are going to die of starvation. That's not how we look at it, because if I just go out there, how many people have a technology, any version of a technology in their business right now that they're not? How many of you are using it? How many aren't using it? How many aren't really sure what it does? Right? This is how we look at it, right? Again, it's a journey, it's not a destination. And this is where everybody's stuck in the loop. And I'm going to jump down here a little bit. This is where we're stuck. This is our do loop right now when it comes to technology. We go, hey, I think I have a problem. And then we run out, and basically what happens is we go look at some neat stuff. So that's what a lot of you are going to do today. I'm going to be predictive in my model. A lot of you are going to go back there and you're going to go, man, that 3D printer is cool. That robot was neat. I really like that tulip thing. And then you're going to go back to your business and you're going to get back involved in your day, living in that same world, in that same loop, in that same pain until the next time that that sharp stick pokes you. And then you're going to go, man, I have a problem. And you're going to go out looking and you're going to say, that tech's really neat. We got to break out of that loop, right? We got to get into the vision. We got to start thinking about our business. And I want to go over a couple of ways that we can do that very easily and cheaply. We've got to get a vision. We've got to build a plan. We've got to stop treating it like it's just a hobby or it's something that somebody else does. So one of the things that we learned in doing some of our assessments, right? Is everybody familiar with high volume, low mix business? Yes. Is everybody familiar with low volume, high mix business? Is everybody aware that those aren't the only two types of business out there? Is there anybody that has a business and they look around and they go, what about me? I'm not represented, right? Things like the high volume, high mix, stamping, shoot and ship molding, right? These are things that I do a lot of changeovers myself, but I also run a very high speed of parts. Low volume or prototyping. There's a lot of businesses out there that what they do is they just kind of keep, doing the changeovers where I do one-offs. And I don't know if I made money on that last one-off before I do the next one. But keep in mind that these are still your issues. No matter what your business model is, you're looking at some of the same things. My equipment reliability, my uptime, my process controls, my quality, my documentation, my on-time movement or flow through my building. These are all still our problems. And that's what we want you to focus on, because when we're going to go out and we're going to pick a technology, or we're going to pick anything that we want to invest in our business, it should be pointed at some sort of a problem. I've been with Industry 4.0 since it was being spelled with an I and an E in 2011, roughly, been tracking it. Something that happened about 3 years ago was people started to say, know what problem you're trying to solve. And then they stopped saying that. I'm not really sure why they stopped saying that, because that's the one thing you should really hold on to. If I'm going to go out and I'm going to invest in something, I need to understand what problem I'm trying to solve and how it ties. So for that, I need to understand where I am on the business development scale. This should be familiar to just about everybody, right? We've got 5 stages: reactive, cognitive, preventive, predictive, autonomous. So how do we get moving forward, right? The first thing I want is metrics and measurement. How many people have a good scoreboard? How many people know whether they're winning or losing on a daily basis? Yes, I see a few, right? How many think that's really important? How many think it's even more important for the people that are actually out there making parts to put in a box to sell to your customer to know whether they're winning or losing, right? They need to know the score. There's a reason they put a scoreboard up in every sporting event. The next thing I want to do is try to stabilize my process, right? And how I did that, and this is one of the things to look at, right? Sensors, IoT, cloud computing. The other thing I've been doing for a long time is, as she said, I got my black belt in 1996, and I got my master black belt in 2010. So for those, I was Lean Six Sigma before it was cool. For those who don't know, it's cool. But how we used to get data is I used to run out there on the floor and I'd hand you all sheets of paper and tell you to write down, I already see heads nodding, some of you have lived this. Write down everything that happened, write down everything you did. And you got to give it to the supervisor who has to make sure it gets filled out, and they've got to give it to somebody who's going to put it in, and then I got to take it out of one file, put it into another file. So basically what happens, and pardon my French, but I find out the 12th of next month that I kind of sucked this month. It's a little late to turn the boat, right? So interconnectivity can help us get real time so that we can actually see whether we're winning or losing before we do that financial roll-up. Process stabilization, if I actually see how I'm running, people can tell when they're making a bad decision out there, and they can kind of right the ship and get things running the way they're supposed to be. 2 facts I'm going to give you real quick. Your operators, every single one of them knows the best way to do their job. The second fact, none of them are doing it the same way. Right? Because how to do our job is a matter of opinion, not a matter of measurement. We can also solve that. We can monitor how things are set, how things are run. We can see when things are starting to change direction on us, and we can right that ship in real time. And that gets us to true operational excellence, right, where we actually start figuring out how to do it better. Things like additive manufacturing, 3D digital design, robotics, cobotics, simulation, maybe being able to prove a process before I actually spend money on it, right? This is kind of the business model that we want people to think, and this is where we go a little funky, and I'm going to jump down here again. This is what everybody does. I have a business plan. I have a product and process definition. I have a materials and a scheduling department. I hope they're having a conversation. When I got enough to make it and it's time to start, I let it rip over here. And then I hope at the end of the month I made money. This is the loop I need you to get into, though. Production and data collection. I need to know what's going on that floor. I need to be getting real-time information so that I can actually be at the point of the problem. I need that to be data over time so I can see how things are running. I need to analyze that information because this is where we actually need to get. Do I have operational performance? Do I have goals and targets that I should be meeting that people are being measured against? From my metrics and measurement, now I have cost performance. And there's actually a tie. If you take nothing else from this slide, which is really busy, you have to have a tie between my manufacturing or business performance and my financial performance, so that I can actually decide where I'm going to put my resources. How many people have all the people they need? Yeah, me neither. I was just hoping that I'd see a hand out there, right? We don't have enough resources to work on the issues we have, so we need to be working on the important issues. And how do I decide what's important to a business? One that's driving my financial performance and stability of my overall operation. So my business planning becomes focused on what is or is not truly hurting my business with a measurable scale. That gives me a consensus as to what the problems are I should be investing in, and it also gives me a commitment by the entire team to work on. Various levels that we can work on, and this is the first thing. The cheapest investment in technology that you can make is to actually use the technology you already have. Now, normally what I will do is I go out and I go, how many people have an ERP? How many people are using more than scheduling, finance, and purchasing, right? That's usually what we find. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I've done about 250 assessments. 80% of the people I talk to hate their information system. 80% of the people hate their information system, not because there are that many bad information systems, but because the information system doesn't match the business model like I showed you earlier. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But as we're looking at it, if you have one of these systems and you're not using it, but you're still paying to update it, that's a problem. If you have one of these systems and you're kind of using it, but you're not paying to update it, that's a bigger problem. We can get to that. Instant communications, right? How many people are still doing Teams meetings? More than ever these days, right? That was a technology that nobody made use of. So that being the point, is start using the stuff that you have. Look around your facility, look around your business. If it's there for a reason. How many people instant message around work? How many people still go look for people at work? Why? Do they not have phones? Right? Think about it that way. Sign-offs. Think about it from a lean technology. If you're still looking for somebody for an approval, you're doing it wrong. Think about lean. And I will say one thing. If anybody is making notes, but if anybody wants this, I will provide the PDF of these slides to Macomb County so that it can be shared out, and or if you want to just get my information, we'll get it out to you so that you don't have to take notes. But think about the waste. And we've got the 8 wastes that we typically talk about in lean, but I want you to think about it from a technology standpoint, right? Because right now I'm not going to talk to you about inventory because everybody wants to talk about supply chain and you're going to argue with me all day about inventory and I don't want to go there. However, defects. Running a machine in the wrong setting. Following an obsolete instruction. Changing some kind of change of state in a tool or equipment that I didn't see. Variation in job performance, right? These are not the normal defects. Defect, oh, bad part threw in the hopper or had to rework it. There's a lot of defects out there that we're not accounting for in our systems. Can we see our demand? Can we see it? Does it move around? Does it shift on us? Right? Waiting. Unforeseen equipment breakdowns. How many people run their? How many people are run to failure maintenance? You know, run until it's broke. Call maintenance out. Duct tape it back together, and then run until it's good and broke. There's a difference. Good and broke, you got to order a part. That takes about 2 weeks. Right? So you can see them all down here, but I want you to think about all of the waste of inventory, obsolete materials, because we don't know, right? We order too much, and then no supply chain. But where we're holding the inventory, what's the cost of that inventory? How good are our information systems telling us? Looking for stuff. Anybody like to run around? I used to spend 3 hours a day in a warehouse. looking for stuff, right? Why? And extra processing. Bugs, changeovers. Anybody enjoy a good changeover? Does anybody enjoy a good physical inventory? I used to love those. Right? So just think about where we're spending our time and how much we're wasting our time. And there are ways that technology can help with us. Cloud benefits. Looking at where our information stands, you know, if we're going to get involved in this, are we going to keep things on-prem? Or if I don't have too many cybersecurity or concerns or issues, or if I don't have an IT group, many small businesses don't. Can I benefit from cloud technologies and actually being able to not only hold my data somewhere else, but also be very integrated and interactive? It kind of goes back to that why I'm looking for people's stuff. The one that I really like right now that I experience a lot is when somebody sends me an email that says, I would like to hold a meeting with you. And they go, can you suggest a couple of dates that would be available? And then we banter back and forth while we negotiate. It's like a hostage exchange, trying to figure out a day for a meeting, right? Robots. A lot of stuff going on with robots right now. Robots, cobots, rentals. Some of these things actually have prices, right? So here we're actually looking for a robotic rental. We found a couple out there that's roughly $2,100 a month or $14 an hour. When we think about robotics, I was just having this conversation in the back of the room. It comes up a lot. So we used to think about robotics like we used to think about lean people. Lean, I would come into your building with a stopwatch and a clipboard. I would watch your people work. I would click it a couple of times, and then I would go, you know, you can do that with 3 less people, right? Lean was coming for our jobs. We talk the same way about robots. The robots are coming for our jobs. That's not the case anymore. It used to be. It takes 120 people to run my business, but if I bring some robots in, it'll only take 100. That's not what we play anymore. It takes 100 people to run this business or 100 jobs to run this business, and I can find 85 that show up to work every day. So think about automation and robotics as a little bit different these days. We are no longer trying to outsource people's jobs. What we are trying to do now is we are actually trying to bring the number of employees needed kind of down to the number of employees I can actually find on a continued basis. Right? So a different way of playing the game. 3D printers, there's a lot of them back there, and yes, there's a dragon if you drop a card. Stop by. In fact, Skip is holding it up. That's a fully articulated one-piece 3D printed dragon on the block today. So cards and or names. I know we've got students here. You're in. Just swing by and we'll figure out a way to get a name on a piece of paper for the drawing later. But am I into prototyping? Am I into replacement parts? One of the stories we love to tell is we had a packaging company who was actually looking for replacement parts for a fairly old line. They ordered the parts. The company that was supplying the line said, well, we don't service that line anymore. But for $1.4 million, I'll sell you a new line. Well, for $1.4, there's a fringe benefit, sir. You no longer need replacement parts. And then when you do need them, we'll be able to supply it, right? That's a lot of money to play in. So they actually started to reverse engineer their parts. It was taking about 3 months to do one part. They were able to reduce that down to 6 weeks through 3D modeling and prototyping, at least to do fit, form, and function. So again, look at the technology, but start with the problem and find the way the technology fits it. Dunnage, locators, check devices, end-of-arm tooling. There's all sorts of things that we can do with 3D printing. Information systems. I would challenge everybody, how many people use a control plan in their work that tells you how to set and operate the machinery? How many people feel that that control plan is fully integrated into the electronics that they're using or into their work instruction? How many people sometimes have quality issues and they go out there and they find out that somebody just did something wacky? I can use technology to not only give you an SOP, not only make sure that that work instruction is up to date and is the exact standard I want you to follow, but I can now also put the controls from the control plan into that instruction to make sure that it was followed and make sure that it was set and operated. And I can do all of this online. I don't have to have network or infrastructure running all the way through the buildings. The one that we're looking at right now, we have an example of it in the back. It's about $1,000 per machine, and it's about $1,200 a year for the software, which is fairly competitive, but this is getting your machine to talk to you and your operator to tell you what's going on without having to write it down on paper. And that's the big point, right? Contextualization. I may know that I'm having an issue. I may also know that I don't run enough or that I'm throwing too many parts away, but do I know what's really causing it? I need to be able to Pareto that. I need to be able to get feedback from the floor, the people that are actually seeing the problem. So again, I can do that prioritization with my resources to drive improvement. So think about what forms of waste, right? How many people spend too much time looking for stuff? How many people, well, I'm going to ask this as a two-part. How many people throw away too much or have scrap issues? Anyone? How many people know exactly what that scrap is? I hope, right? But we don't always. So think about those 8 forms of waste, and like I said, I'll share that. But in your business, what's eating your lunch? What's your number one issue? What's your number one problem? And the other thing I will remind you is, if we're adopting technology, folks, that's a project, not a hobby. We approach it the wrong way too many times. We give it to somebody and we say, okay, hey, we just bought a 3D printer. Go make it work, right? What do we need it for? But treat it like a project. Regular check-ins. Responsible people. Due dates with one name on them, right? Standard practices. And you may start with some kind of an assessment. If you don't know what the biggest issue is, if you don't know really what's eating your lunch, or if you want confirmation, get an assessment. Get a third party. I know they talked about it a little bit. Typically, a good assessment won't take a whole lot of time, but it will also confirm for you what the issue may be, and it can also help you kind of figure out what you want to adapt to fix it. And this is one of the things that I really want you to think about. How many people have ever had something rejected when they tried to start a project or a process or a new piece of equipment? We ever have anybody that pushes back a little bit? Do we actually have a change manager as part of everything we start? How many people have a change manager or a cultural change person involved in their project work? I am seeing far too few hands. Everything we do, folks, and we're here for technology, but whether it's a quality management system, whether it's a new SOP, whether it's a new line that we're launching, whether it's a new piece of technology, whatever you're doing, whenever you're implementing, that's change. And I have seen people rejecting technology at the speed of sound. It's like Neo in the Matrix. Technology flying at the floor, and this dude's windmilling and spinning himself to make sure that it just doesn't touch him. So manage the change. Make sure that you have the right resources, and make sure that somebody's looking at whether or not it's being accepted. And this is my obligatory question or answer slide, because ever since PowerPoint was invented, they said at the end, thou shalt have. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So do you offer those 2-hour assessments?
Yes, ma'am. 40 questions, 2 hours, and I promise it will not feel like a quality audit.
So my husband is a quality systems engineer for General Motors.
I am so sorry.
As I'm in your presentation, every single supplier that he works with needs to meet with you.
I don't disagree. I mean, it helps, right? It just helps to have that opinion. We know what our pain is because that's where we spend 80% of our time. We just don't write it down, and we just don't look at it from a higher level.
He tells me, and I keep we got to find someone else that can actually help here, so I'm really excited to hear.
We're back there for networking. We're happy to help in any way we can. Anyone else? Because if you do, we'll be in the back corner. Thank you.
All right, so Chuck's not kidding that they are in the back corner. There was a vehicle there yesterday. We had that, I think, moved to the front of the building, and so they've got a bunch of technology demos. Make sure you do visit them at some point today. All right, so for our next agenda item, we wanted to talk about the workforce. I'm reading a book right now called Upstream, where it's looking at, how do you deal with downstream problems by focusing on the upstream. And when we look at with Industry 4.0, the transformation, that workforce component is upstream. It's making sure that we are having conversations at the K through 12, we're having the conversations with our colleges and universities, making sure that workforce is ready for these jobs. But I will tell you, these students are really super smart, so they're actually bringing the technology into the workforce as well. So, there actually is something to be said about listening to the students, because they have really something great to share. So with that, I'm going to invite up Shannon Williams. Shannon is a phenomenal partner for Macomb County Planning and Economic Development. She works as the Career and Technical Education Consultant for the Macomb Intermediate School District. She is our partner with our efforts with fueling the talent pipeline, making sure we're having those conversations at that K through 12 level. And she also works side by side with Maria Zetters and our team with the Manufacturing Day, which comes up the first Friday in October. So I'll do a plug right there. I know she's always looking for businesses. So with that, Shannon, come on up.
Good morning. Okay, so there's my infamous PowerPoint. Thank you for letting me come, and Vicky and Chuck, what a great presentation. I want to use those slides and retransform education on them, because I think that there's a lot of good value in just kind of streamlining the process. But I'm here today to talk about one thing that Chuck kind of alluded to, was your biggest asset sometimes can be your employees in that workforce. And you'll be surprised to know that we actually have a lot of students coming up from within our career and technical education programs that you may not realize. So again, let me get this going. There we go. We have in Macomb County, you kind of see the number of programs, since we've been growing. So we have 248 career and technical education programs within our high schools just in Macomb County. 248 programs that service about, well, we have tons of students, but the student enrollment in just these career and technical education courses is a little over 20,000. We've been growing strategically, and even when everybody thought the pandemic was going to kind of stop the growth in career and technical education, it didn't. I had more program applications come through this year than I've ever had since I've been doing this job, and that's really exciting to see. So when we talk about what are these programs, this is kind of, I know it's hard to see, but I'm just going to kind of throw out a few that I know that you might be interested in. Obviously, marketing, therapeutic, business, those are always been, we have a lot of programs in there. But if I look at computer information systems, there's the number 14 next to it. That is our version of cybersecurity, okay? 3 years ago, we had 2. We did a lot of work trying to kind of, bring in that cyber, bring in that networking programming, kind of marry them together. So now we have 14 cybersecurity programs around the county. We have programming, mechanical drafting is kind of like our CAD. We have 12 of those. You'll see mechatronics at 6, welding at 6, machine at 4. We used to have 6 machining programs, and this is sad to say, but now we only have 4. And part of the reason is it's, in order to teach these programs, we need teachers to teach them. And it's very hard to sometimes fill some of those programs. So we rely really heavily on our business partners. But they're fantastic programs, the ones that are running. So you can kind of see where, in electronics it looks like there's 2, but that's because a lot of them have moved into mechatronics, which now we have 6. So they're making that transition. So what are they doing and where are they at? I just wanted to kind of give you a pulse. So over here you can kind of see, like when we have our machining programs, we're doing CNC programming. We have big Haas machines. We're using Mastercam. When we have our computer-aided design courses and our drafting, they're using SolidWorks, they're using Autodesk, they're using Revit, they're using NX. Automation, we're using RoboGuide, we have FANUC robots, we have 3D printing technology and all this. I think sometimes you might be surprised at some of the technology that actually exists in some of these classrooms. I was just out yesterday in Romeo. Actually, we have a lot of Romeo students here. But I went and stopped by their construction lab. And we just put in a huge heavy equipment operator simulator. I mean, this thing is gigantic. The screen is huge. It's beautiful. And they, like the student, when you go to pick something up, the whole chair moves. Like, it's literally a simulation. So some of the technology that are in these programs is really something to see, and I would encourage you to come take a look to partner. So really, I'm just going to be very brief now and say, you know, ways to engage. I always get that question. Well, technically, what I usually get is a lot of employers will contact me and be like, I need 10 students right now that want to work over the summer. That's usually the email that I get, and we love to connect you. That is, I mean, if I can, and if students are available and that's their passion, I'm your lady, right? But the best way to really engage with our programs is to do it a little more long term. So, you know, the students know who you are. They've been to your facility. They know you. They know the people that they would be working with. That is the companies that do that, I usually see are the ones that have the greatest retention on their students staying. And the student awareness with the community. Sometimes, you know, a student might not even know that you exist and you're a mile down the road, and they don't even know that you're there. So that engagement piece is really important. Direct support. All of our 248 CT programs, there's a few staples that they have to have. They have to have advisory committee memberships from industry. So it's industry coming in and talking with the teacher. What does your equipment look like? What's your curriculum look like? How can I help? You know, you really should think about implementing this versus this. So we need that industry feedback as we grow in CTE. Part of it could be, you know, guest speakers, field trips, getting the students out. We have some students who have never left their, you know, square mile block, right? They don't even know what's out there. So that exposure is very important. And an industry mentor. Romeo, I know Rich is going to come up. I don't know where Rich is. I keep talking about him. There he goes. Rich is going to come up and talk about just, you know, all of the industry mentorship and the things that happen with Romeo and the academies that they're doing. But, you know, I have 21 school districts, and they all need that. All 248 of those programs need that industry mentorship. So I kind of call it like adopt a CTE program. If you really want to get in and support career and technical education, start with one. You know, partner with one program. Get invested, get involved in that program. We never turn that type of investment away. And then obviously participate in events. Like, we have different events that come up. Vicky mentioned Manufacturing Day. I'll kind of talk about that briefly, and I'll talk about the Macomb Talent Showcase also, because that's an exciting one that's coming up. But I'm on a delay. There we go. Manufacturing Day. So Manufacturing Day has been around, oh gosh, we're probably 14, 15 years now. How many of you have participated in Manufacturing Day before? Awesome. So we're back. Like, we had to be virtual for a little bit, and it was kind of weird, but it worked out well. This past year, we started to dip our toe back in the water, and we did have about 20 tours go out, and then we had 2 companies who did virtual tours so that the students that couldn't send out, because, you know, we started the school year and we were still living in a, okay, let's get good kids to school. Can we open up our doors, and contact tracing and all the great things that happened in education this past year. But our goals for next year is we want to be back pre-pandemic levels. So the schools are ready. We're ready. We got buses. We're ready to go. You know, we're going to put students out. But now our goal is to get back to pre-pandemic with 70 tours, which is about 2,000 students going out to manufacturing facilities and getting to see it. That's where we were in 2018, I think, the last year that we were able to go out. We were about 72 tours and over 2,000 students. So it was pretty big. So definitely watch for Manufacturing Day. I know Maria is going to be sending out some stuff shortly. If you can get involved, consider getting involved. The other last event I kind of wanted to share. Oh, and these are some of our companies from last year. I just wanted to kind of give them a plug. We appreciate them because They were the first ones that kind of came back after a pandemic and said, sure, I'll take your German kids. I'm just kidding, students do not. But you know what I mean, like all these students come in and we're like, I'm bringing 30 of them, can we come walk through your facility? And they stepped up and opened up their doors, so we appreciate them. And the next, I think I need to point to you, that's why, is that what's happening? Got it. Coming up is the Macomb Talent Showcase. I didn't put these flyers on every table, but it looks like this, and it is a partnership with Michigan Works, who does have a table, so I did put these flyers back with them. There's plenty. But what the Macomb Talent Showcase is, we did this 1 year, and it was an opportunity for some of our seniors, we actually had some juniors participate too, but some of our seniors who are about to graduate, who are looking for their next opportunity, and they set up tables where they were showcasing their work. And then we invited our employer partners to come around and meet them. We worked with them on resumes, so they all had resumes, and you kind of see some of the pictures. You know, it's at the Macomb ISD. It's on May 19th. It's from 3:30 to 5:30, and it's just kind of an open networking event. And the exciting thing about this year is we have about 17 students who will have displays from all over the county. And then I also have about 8 or 9 of our CTE, not program, well some are program specific, but some are gonna, like Warren Con is coming and they're representing the Career Prep Center. So they're gonna represent all of their career and technical education. So you can meet some of the programs and the people that are at the program level at this event as well. So I would encourage you, if you are available on May 19th, come check it out. You'll meet some great students. You'll be able to interact with some of the leadership within each of the districts to see how maybe you can adopt a CTE program local to you. And then the last thing, I did it again. The last thing is stay connected with us. One of our initiatives at the ISD is this Macomb Engage, because really in career and technical education, we need you to engage with us, right? We have 20,000 students coming out of career and technical education, and we need them to know where to go. We need the curriculum to stay relevant. And you want them. Trust me, these kids, some of these kids are amazing, and the works that they can do, the amount of certifications that are coming out of these, I'm super proud to be part of career and technical education. So if you want to stay, this is our website, it's just macombengage.org. And you can kind of see there's a stay connected if you want to be put on our newsletter distribution. They come out like 4 times a year just to say, hey, this is coming up. But also under events, there's events that like Macomb Talent Showcase is on there. And students in the room, if you are a student and you wanted to participate in the showcase, you can still sign up. You wouldn't sign up with this flyer though. There's a student section on the website. So go check out the website if you're a student and you want to sign up. But that's kind of where you can find my contact information is on there, but I also have it here. Again, the showcase is the 19th at the ISD, and if you have any other questions or you want to connect with one, and if you go to the ISD's website, you can find out what schools are offering what programs. And if you can't find it, just email me and I can help you get engaged. Thank you. All right. As part of the duo, we're going to bring up Rich Boggio. He's with Romeo High School. I work really closely with Rich on Ford Next Generation Learning, Ford NGL. There are 2 school districts in Macomb County. They have adopted these career academies. It's been truly transformational to work with this high school as we look at the career pathways. You know, going back to when you were in high school and you said, what is it that I should do when I grow up? Rich is making that happen, that reality happen for many students, where they have a greater grasp of what it is they want to do when they grow up. So with that, Rich, I believe you've got a video that we will cue for you.
Thanks everybody for having us out today. So first, my job as Academy coach at Romeo High School, I almost think that, according to Chuck, I should change my title to change manager, because I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to do. My job is to try and bridge that gap between education and our business world and our community. because those two worlds have existed kind of in silos for a really long time, and we need to bring them together. You know, I mean, earlier when Chuck asked, you know, who has everyone they need to fill their workforce, and no one raised their hand, you know, we have 1,400 students who are all in college and career pathways, who are ready for whatever is next by the time they graduate from Romeo High School. So I'm going to cue a short video right now, but before you watch that, I kind of want you to think about how you maybe see your business fitting into our Academies model at Romeo High School. And I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to cue that and talk a little bit more about it.
As high school students, we crave real-world, authentic experiences because we want to be interested in what we are learning.
In Romeo, our schools partner with Ford Next Generation Learning and the Macomb County Planning and Economic Development Department, bringing together teachers, employers, and community leaders to transform our high school to make learning more meaningful and give us the skills we need to be ready for what comes next.
We call this transformation the Academies at Romeo. The Academies at Romeo will allow us to choose a career theme we are interested in, like health, law, manufacturing, information technology, and more.
We'll take math, English, science, and social studies, but they will be taught through the theme of our academy. 9th graders will start out in Freshman Academy, where they will learn skills to help them be successful in high school, explore careers, and even visit college campuses.
After this exploration, students choose an academy and pathway for their 10th, 11th, and 12th grade years.
Choosing a pathway, such as health services in the Academy of Health, Human, and Public Services, is like choosing a college major. The academy and pathway we choose becomes a school within a school, where we study with those with similar interests and build strong relationships with our teachers and each other.
No matter what academy or pathway we choose, our courses will relate to real problems being faced by real companies, and we will learn about them both in and out of the classroom. Workplace learning opportunities such as job shadowing and internships will give us hands-on experiences, understanding of career options, and increased technical and soft skills.
And because we learn within a career theme that interests us, school becomes more engaging, relevant, and fun, increasing our academic achievement, attendance, and graduation rates. This will ensure all graduates of Romeo Community Schools have the opportunity to enroll in a college or other post-secondary training option, enlist in military service, or become employed in a sustainable career with opportunities for growth.
Most importantly, it will prepare all of us for college, career, and life. To find out more or to get involved, visit www.romeok12.org.
So I could talk about our academies for hours, all the things that we are doing. But what really drives what we do is the ability to take our students and get them out of school into those work-based learning opportunities. So our ask for Macomb County, and we're partnered with Economic Development, which is so nice, is to get those students out in 10th grade within their pathway into some sort of industry tour or your typical class field trip. And what this does is it allows the students to kind of see, touch, feel what that career might be like, whether that's advanced manufacturing or robotics or healthcare or business. Then as they progress through their academy pathway, in 11th grade we want to offer them some sort of job shadow experience. In 12th grade, some sort of internship experience. And kind of the win-win that we hope to establish with our area businesses is it gives business people and business leaders that ability to make that contact with students early on. So a student might go to your business as a 10th grader and go, wow, this is pretty cool, walking around, hear what it's about. Then, as they progress in 11th grade, because again, they're in a pathway that they've chosen, it's an interest for them. They think about going on a job shadow, they might think back to, hey, I went to that place in 10th grade, that was pretty cool. Can I have an opportunity to go there and spend 4 or 5 hours and learn more about that? What that gives a business is then an opportunity to talk about what you have to offer students. Because I know so many places I talk to people that we have 80% reimbursement for tuition, we have 100%, we'll hire people at $18.50 an hour, we have this, we have that. It gives you that opportunity to talk to those kids, to say, that's a pretty good choice, but I might ask that kid to come back and maybe intern next year. And maybe we can bring them in, we can grow them from within and offer them this and that. And because I know that those workforce needs are what you all need. And that's really really what we need to give our students the ability to find what they want to do. You've all heard the horror stories where our kids go to school for a year or two, off to college, and then realize that's not what they want to do, and they've wasted time and money. We're trying to give them those opportunities in high school so they can say, yeah, that's really what I want to pursue after high school, or that's not at all what I thought it was like. I think I want to go in a different direction before it's, wasting time and money. So, I mean, it works both ways. We're not locking them into their future. We're trying to give them as many opportunities as we can while they're in high school. Like I said, I could talk for 3 hours. I want to touch on those things. So I do have some flyers here. If anyone is interested in getting involved with Romeo schools, there's all kinds of different ways to get engaged with us, from those industry tours to more thought-out processes, whether the job shadows or the co-op or internship, things like that. We're always looking for people to sit on advisory boards because we want to make sure that what we're teaching our students is what you need in the workforce. We don't want to be using outdated technology or programs or things like that. We don't want to waste their time or your time having to retrain them when they end up, in your business. So if you're interested, I'm over here at table 2. I've got ways to get engaged. We're always looking for business partners, and we can always just kind of work around everyone's schedule. So thank you very much for having us out. We do have 10 Romeo students I know around at different tables today, as well as students from Macomb Community College. And I see a hand in the way back.
I just want you to support what he's saying, because 3 of Romeo students came from Macomb, all 3 of them are ready for a state competition to go to Skills USA. We took first place, and then of that, we went to nationals, and Romeo student went 4th place on nationals, where he competed against 40 plus different states. So I just wanted to support that. Romeo, I'm on their advisory committee, and I'm totally supportive of the students that come from Romeo.
Thank you very much for that plug. And we are one of the 4 with the machine shop, a full machine shop for sports, the CNCs, and it's all going on. So I believe we're moving into a break right now where you can.
We have one more question here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not really a question. We work with something that we work with radio schools, but what we committed to was taking out 2 students a year that we trusted. So, and we've maintained the students, so that was something that we're going to want to work with the businesses.
Absolutely. Right. So we'll work with any business trying to figure out how we can make something that's mutually beneficial to the school and the market for sure. Any other questions? Sorry. Yes, sir.
I see this as a very valuable program. How do companies create an environment that allows students to come in and learn these things? Because the last thing you want is to be in an environment where it's always go, go, go. There's always, high value projects rolling out the door. The last thing you want is to put the student in a situation where they could, I'm just going to say, goof up or something like that. How do companies create an environment without impacting their business?
Well, I think every business is going to be different in that regard. Our levels of engagement differ from just bringing in a group of 30 students to tour and say this is what we do, versus some sort of co-op or work-based learning where the student's actually doing the work. Obviously, I think in a co-op situation, there needs to be training that happens with the student and with the staff of the business. But I don't know if I can answer that specifically. I think that's, depending on the level of engagement that the business wants to have with the student, it's going to tailor a different experience for those students. And the capacity you have to do that within your business. I touch base with all those businesses before we do that. I visit them. We have those conversations one-on-one before those things happen. Anything else? Okay, so for the next 10 or 15 minutes, I think you can talk with the students who are at your tables, and I don't know what happens after that. Thank you very much.
Just a few housekeeping things. I forgot to mention this in the beginning. If you do have to use the restroom, it is over here. We will have a little timer, a little clock. We have about 15 minutes for you guys to engage, meet the students at your table. I will tell you this morning, A lot of them filled my cup, a lot of smart students in the room. There are some students that are leaving the state, going to college somewhere else, and I'm telling them they need to come back to Macomb because their job is here. So help me get that message out to those students. My Montana was a JSIC going to Montana. We got some going to Ohio. Make sure you have those conversations, and also visit the vendor booths while you are up and about. I know MMTC has a drawing for the dragon. I wanted to show you guys what we are giving away, so give me a minute. It is our phenomenal picnic blankets. So make sure you drop your business card over at our booth in the corner, and we'll see you guys in 15. All right, so was that a quick 15 minutes? Because that went pretty quick for me. All right, actually we gave you guys almost 18 minutes because this crowd is phenomenal, great energy. I saw people walking around with business cards in their hands. Love to see that exchange happening, and we don't want to stop it. We do have 2 more speakers as part of our agenda today. Our next speaker is actually one of our small businesses here in Macomb County. It is a woman-owned small business. So if I can have Heidi head on up. Heidi Devroy and her husband are founders of a company called Protect Tool and Machining out in Richmond. I don't want to steal her thunder because this is a phenomenal success story of how this business started in the midst of a recession back in 2007-08, and to see where they are today is pretty phenomenal. I do want to let you guys also know, it was not mentioned in your bio, Heidi, but Protect is our 2021 Macomb Business Award Manufacturer of the Year recipient, and that is something we don't give lightly, so you know they're doing some great things here. Heidi's going to talk about their story. So I know we've got a lot of small businesses in the room. Some of them are looking to make that small, or maybe perhaps a big giant leap into Industry 4.0. Sometimes it's best to hear from those that have been there and done that. And so with that, Heidi, I will have you take over and tell your story.
Good morning. I'm going to try to talk loud because my husband says my voice doesn't carry unless I'm in my mom mode, and you don't want me in my mom mode. So I think that's a compliment, I'm not sure. So Jack Johns asked me to talk today a little bit about how a small company got into Industry 4.0, and he gave me some questions to maybe consider talking about. So as I was thinking about that, this country song kept coming to mind. And if you're older in the room, I know you students probably won't know this. We were country when country wasn't cool. Well, we were Industry 4.0 when we didn't even know what it was, and we were. So how did it happen for us? About 2018, we started to hit a growth wall again. And anybody in a business out here, raise your hand if you know what a growth wall is. Help, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to get over this. I need to get through it. Well, we had started out primarily building plastic injection tooling for the automotive industry. Began in the recession. So as our company began to grow, we knew another recession's coming, right? They're cyclical, they always come. So how can we diversify and strengthen our business to sustain ourselves? So we started branching out and getting more into the machining area, production machining, and moving into the medical sector and defense sector. So with that brought some challenges. The quality management system we did not have was probably our biggest challenge. Because as you start doing production, it's different than tooling. We needed a quality system. So my husband and I, my husband's here with me, he's in the back of the room, Bob. We went out to the IMTS show in Chicago. They have that every 2 years. It's the International Machine and Tool Show. And that's where you go to see what's happening in your industry. So we needed help. We needed to see what was going on. We were going to implement a quality system. So we went out there, and it's a huge show. I mean, a huge expo center, multiple floors. We're going to go to the section that deals with quality. And he was probably always more excited to go to these things because he's a journeyman tool maker. He runs these machines. I don't run them. I run the front, he runs the back. But we walked in the first booth, had automation for quality systems. And I literally think my chin hit the floor. I was like, my blood pressure just went, I was like so excited. Then we went to the next booth, and there was more automation, and they were running machines. And the next booth had more automation. And we were like, we have to do this. We're small, but we have to do this. This could really help us with some of our problems. Would it be embraced by our people? Yeah, we knew it would be. We had a lot of young people. We have a lot of apprenticeships at our place, so we knew the young people would not be a problem. And to keep a sustainable business, technology is not going anywhere, so that would help us keep up with it. It could improve our gross profits. As labor costs went up in our margins, we were stuck at that wall. We knew that we could improve that. So we left there knowing it was something that we had to do. I literally could not sleep 2 nights at the Eskimo, like in the hotel room. I am the more risk averse of the two of us. I don't like debt, even though you have to have it in this industry. It makes me nervous, and I pushed. I said, we have to do this. I just feel it in my gut, and he was right on board. Within 2 weeks, started talking to vendors who are a great resource, because which automation do you choose when you see at a show like this? There's so many options out there. So one of the challenges, of course, was cost. This was going to cost us about 10% of that year's sales to implement this. And in our type of business, that could be another machine, another spindle running. But if we put it to automation, the spindles we had could now work at night. They could work on the weekend. So we knew we were down the right path. And then there was the integration factor. So we do machining, but we're still building tooling. So we have to get to the front of the machine. We can't just put a robot in front of the machine. How are we going to integrate this? So Bob especially worked with the vendors to get a system that worked on the side of our machine so that we could still access the front. So that was a major hurdle. And then the other one was the work holding. The medical industry especially has a lot of tight tolerancing and multiple operations. So whatever fixturing we were using inside the machine, we wanted it to go from the machine to the CMM machine, which if you don't know what that is, it's a coordinate measuring machine to test to make sure your products meet quality. But we wanted it to go on the same fixture in case there was a problem, we could bring it back to the machine. So all those factors really what took our time to ultimately decide on which unit we should go with. And a challenge, being realistic, is the payoff. From the first night we couldn't sleep because we're like, we need to do this, it was 9 months. 9 months before it was up and running. Because you have to figure, you have the idea, then you have to do the research, then you have to order it, then it has to get to your facility, then you have to get it up and running, then you have to figure out how to use it and your people, then you have to get a job, then you have to ship a job, then you get the money, right? That's a long time. So about 9 months, and really, I'm gonna say about a year, and then we started seeing the payoff, and it has not stopped. We've just wanted to keep going more and more because once it was there, but no going into it, conserve your cash if you can because it's gonna take you a little while until you see that payoff. Like I said, our staff bought into it. We have young people that we have like apprenticing, and we have some seasoned people, I like to say. I think they were just as excited about it. It might have been a little more challenging because there's that old school way of doing it, but that's where the young people sometimes teach the older people, and just seeing that, them learning together has been very rewarding. I must say it's kind of odd that I bring a piece of paper up here to talk about the digital world, and I don't even have a slideshow. I can't see it on my phone. So like I said, it does cost a lot of money. Our unit probably cost $150,000. Would that cost that much for you to put it in? That depends on where you're at, what you need. Like I said, we needed to really worry about where the integration was placed and what kind of work holding. So I think you could probably enter robotic automation cheaper, and you can certainly probably spend more, but that's where it was at for us. And then, were there organizations that helped us? Absolutely. Everybody around this room Macomb County Economic Development Team, they help us all kinds of ways, but always bringing to the forefront groups that can help, organizations that we can work with. Automation Alley, we've had the 4.0 assessment where they came out to our place, and they actually helped us get going with NIST, which is the cybersecurity compliance, because once you start getting in the defense industry, you have to get going there too. So they brought that to light, and then we were able to get a grant through the University of Michigan, and that's still ongoing, where they will help your company with your cybersecurity, because that's always going to be a threat now. Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, we've done the opportunity assessment with them, and they helped point out that an MES system would be a better choice for us than an ERP system before we ended up spending a lot of money. And then Michigan Works, State of Michigan, the training grants, because if you're going to invest in this technology, you can't just plunk it there and say, okay, figure it out. You have to help your people. You have to learn how to do it yourself. But if you're going to have it, you might as well utilize it. So we apply for that grant every year, and it's very helpful. And then the college, Macomb Community College, that's where our current apprentices go, and they learn everything that is current with the technology they're bringing back to us. So how have we kept going? We have a long list now, I think, now that we've gotten into it, and some things are taking longer than we wanted, but our last 2 lathes that we purchased have integrated automation in them. That's important. We have cows for everyone. And I think it was Pete came out, and I think we showed you our computers on wheels, and he said, those are cows. And yeah, we're out in the farm land up in northern Macomb County, but what we did was our programmers were in a room programming machines, and then they'd walk out the door and walk across the shop, go to the machine, come back, fix the problem, go back and forth. And then we thought, well, why don't we just give them all their technology on a rolling cart, like a doctor's office? And now they move all around the shop with their carts wherever they have to go, dual screens all over the place. Of course, you have to get industrial ones when they're in a shop environment, but that has worked out tremendously as we move them from job to job, and they're just more efficient, and I think they like their own space, and it's freed up some space in the front for us. We bought another horizontal mill last year, and we decided it had to be able to go next to the one we have, because we want now that robot to be working both machines at the same time. So that's something we're working on this year, which will be really cool. We've gone digital in our office, even though I have a piece of paper, but we're starting to scan things so that when jobs come around again, they're in the cloud and we can access them. And as long as it works with our cybersecurity and they're not the government prints, everything else we can put so it's accessible to anybody in the shop that needs to use it. And then we finally got a 3D printer thanks to the Automation Alley Project Diamond grant, and we're printing the tourniquet clips for Ukraine right now. Haven't done a lot with that technology, but it's definitely something that we want to keep our eye on in our industry to see where it goes in the future. So what we do at our shop, which you can do anywhere, just look at everything through a continuous improvement lens. Can you do it better? How do you solve a problem? What's the most efficient way to do it? And just what makes sense. Go back to the days, if you're an entrepreneur, when you said, let's start a business, and go with your gut. Large companies have access to these, just send it to this department, have them run a report. We don't have that. A lot of times we just have to go with our gut, what makes sense. And we do pros and cons and try to do an ROI, but you just know what makes sense to make your business run better. And then encourage an innovative culture. What are the people, and I think you'd mentioned that, what are the people that are doing the jobs telling you? When we first integrated the robot, the challenge was, how do we keep track of 60 parts? How do we know which one needs to be tested? And one of our kids, I don't even think he was 20, he was a farmer, and he said, let's use sheep tags. And I'm like, what's a sheep tag? Well, it's exactly what it is, what they put in a sheep's ear on a farm with a number, and they're plastic, so they could go on our palletized system through the machine, and the coolant went through them, and we're still using them today. to keep track of what number part we're at, right? And that came from a kid that was 20 years old. So we love when those ideas come up. But I would encourage you to do your homework. If we didn't go to the IMTS show, we might have gotten an Industry 4.0 once we started hearing about it, but we saw it. And then our vendors helped us get into bigger shops and do tours and see how are they using the automation? How can we bring a small piece of that back and start? And just start small, and we try to grow all the time. YouTube, love YouTube. Anything you want to know, if you see something, I'm pretty sure you can find a video or somebody giving you their opinion on it. But that can be a resource too. And like I said, it's we got into it before we even knew it had a buzzword, but I'm so glad we did. It really changed the trajectory of our business. And we've just begun. We have a lot more to do. So thank you for listening to our story. And anybody have any questions? Okay, good. Oh, I'm sorry.
How long have you been working with schools in terms of your apprentices or internships?
I would say about 10 years probably. We started our first apprenticeship program with the state, and then we've also worked with Armada High School. They have a program, and kids would come in through their co-op program, and we'd like to work with more schools. We've reached out to some of them, but I had no idea Romeo was so phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, we're not that far from you. So, but we like working with the young kids. We actually just had a group of 7th and 8th graders in about 3 weeks ago from one of the local schools, because one of our whys is to teach the trade. We want to expose the young kids that, not everybody wants to go to college, but boy, the trades could use you. You still have to go learn. But it might not be your 4-year degree. So we had them in so that they can just plant that idea that, if I'm not a good student, maybe there's another route for me. So I'd like about 10 years, I would say.
And I want to commend you. So I'm a community background development consultant. I am also a licensed school counselor, and I can tell you from my own lived experience, it's often that work experience that inspires you to return to school and complete a degree. So it's super important.
I agree. And I mean, we're parents too, and we started in the recession. We pushed our kids away from the trade. We don't like to say that we did that now, but we know we did because it scared us. We had 4 kids. They were little. We had a house. We could have lost everything if this didn't work out. So, I'm getting a sign. I can keep going, but I have to do that. So, thank you for listening, and I hope if you're on the fence, you jump in.
To Heidi to get up here for 20 minutes and just speak from the heart, and she really does have a phenomenal story, so thank you, Heidi. All right, our next speaker is with a company called Markforged. And I know we've got some companies in the room here that receive some of those printers. Can I just get a show of hands of who's got the Markforged 3D printers? All right, now keep those hands up if you guys are using them. All right, do you guys need some technical assistance? The ones that put their hands down? Because he's here today. So Markforged, was one of the partners that we worked with Automation Alley on a project called Project Diamond. You might have heard that terminology. We were able to set aside some CARE Act dollars for businesses to receive these 3D printers. But as Heidi mentioned, there was actually an agreement that if these printers ever need to be utilized in a national security, or maybe perhaps there's an event that comes up where we need to print parts and do them very quickly. That just recently happened. I believe Prosper Tech, you guys actually did print parts for a tourniquet. And so, when we talk about those 3D printing farms, all the printers were turned on, and we know a lot of our businesses were able to receive that call, and we're able to make those parts for Ukraine. So phenomenal that you guys did what you said you were going to do. You followed the contract, but more importantly, we wanted to make sure we got those 3D printers in your hands so that you have the ability to play and see what that technology can do. So with that, we actually have Rod Chaffee. He is with Markforged. He came here from Ohio to be with us today. He's got a lot of experience running teams, at least 20 years experience leading organizations to improve efficiency, data-driven actions, sales growth, and higher profits. And so when we talk about the cultural side of Industry 4.0, you know, this guy brings it. So with that, Rod, I will hand it off to you. Are you gonna come up here? You want to see
Absolutely.
it? You're gonna come up there. All right. Welcome back.
Morning, everyone. I'm not sure how much I'm going to stand behind this podium or how much I'm going to move around, so bear with me. I'm fairly loud, so I think if I get away from it, everybody hear me okay? Yeah, I'm good, okay. So first and foremost, thanks for having me. Thanks for having Markforged here. It's a gorgeous day here, so I appreciate you having the weather nice for me when I get here. I'm going to talk about building a digital platform. Really, it's around manufacturing platform, and there's a couple of different key topics to it. So let me first see if I can get right. There we go. Again, my name is Rod Chaffee. I am the director of America's West for Markforged, based out of Columbus, Ohio. I have spent the last 20 years of my life bringing disruptive technology into the manufacturing world globally. I spent a couple years living in China helping implement some stuff there, and then I spent 4 or 5 years in Singapore, traveling all over Asia and all over the world, putting really dimensional inspection equipment and vision systems and laser scanners into some pretty cool places, which was a ton of fun. So I've been with Markforged for about a year and a half. At Markforged, we are reinventing manufacturing today so you can build anything you can imagine tomorrow, which is a pretty large mission statement. How do we do that? We do that through our Digital Forge platform. The Digital Forge is really based on hardware, software, and material to help our customers create beautiful, useful, strong parts with just the push of the button. We want the system to be easy to use, and we want them to generate parts all the time. I am not going to talk a lot about Markforged. This is one of my Markforged slides. So from here, we'll move past that and talk a little bit more about an overall digital manufacturing platform and what to think about if you're going down that road. I do not think my clicker's working at all. It just doesn't like the forward button. Purpose, process, payoff. A lot of my presentations, I start here. So why are we here? What are we going to do? And what's the benefit for you? The purpose of my time today is to talk about ideas of creating a digital manufacturing platform. I'm going to start with the why. Why would somebody even do this? And then we'll talk a little bit about what are we looking for, what does it need to do, and then finally, how do I actually implement it? And the benefit for you would be that when I'm finished, hopefully you have some ideas around really considering what should I do if I'm going to go down this path and how can I be successful with it. So next slide. There we go. Why? Why would we do it? Chuck's presentation earlier this morning was fantastic. If I don't have the 3D printer, my kids aren't going to have anything to eat tomorrow. Look, don't go at it that way. Have a very clear reason on what you want to do with that system before you do it. A lot of places that we go to, people are just interested in 3D printing and they're interested in additive manufacturing, but they're not sure what they're going to do. It is really important to have a reason why you want to do it. Have an end goal in mind. Don't just jump into the water. Understand what you're going to do when you get in there. A lot of things that we get into is dollars. Adding a digital manufacturing platform can save you some money. It's not doing anything. Hold on. There we go. Simple is cost of parts. Sometimes an additive manufactured part costs less. That's an easy one. But sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes it's how much does it cost to manufacture the part? Where am I manufacturing at? What does my facility have? This is one of the benefits, but it may not be the one that drives you to actually take action and do something. Digital inventory, mass customization, and distributed manufacturing are three others. We do a lot of this digital inventory picture. Earlier today we talked about high volume, low mix, high volume systems. This works very well for low volume, high mixes. I've even seen organizations implement their digital inventory into their system. Barcodes on part, they scan the barcode, that triggers a printer to start making the part. They carry an inventory of one. Whenever they need it, they print out another one. No lead times, no minimum buys. Thing sits there, cranks out 4 or 5 parts. That's all they ever use it for. Pays for itself in weeks. Quantities of one is sort of an interesting things for us as we move forward. And then finally, distributed manufacturing. It used to be we build all of our parts and then we distributed them through some sort of trucking or boats or whatever. Today, we put printers where you need the parts and print them where you need them, when you need them, and eliminate all of that inventory, all that transportation costs, all of those things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide because I'm sure a lot of people here see this and hear this every day, but reduction of lead time, time is money. We can certainly reduce lead time depending on what the part is, how often you need them, what you want to do with them. Lead times grow really, really quick. A lot of times, hey, you can get the printer, if I can teach you how to use it, you can get a part before you ever get it any other way. And then the 2 final things I'll talk about here is quality. With some of these systems, quality control, we just heard a bit about quality control systems, are part of the package. So as the part comes out, you get an inspection report that tells you, hey, this part meets the dimensional requirements of the object. It's all part of the system, it's nice, it's capped, the data's always there, you can always come back and get it. And then the other is centralized control of parts. Revision control, and hey, this part's been approved for manufacturing by my end customer. How do I ensure that same part is being printed every time and it's not being updated? The system should be able to do that for you. Once you get it approved, you lock it down and you print it that way every time, and don't make any changes until your customer comes back and says, here's the web. So again, start with the end in mind, have an end goal. Don't just buy a 3D printer and get into additive because it's a buzzword. You feel like if I don't do this, I'm going to be left way behind. What do you want to do with it? Why do you want to do those things? And how can you actually make it successful? Is critically important. This is another one of my Markforged slides, so forgive me, but this is the path that we generally take customers on when we first come in the door and start talking to people. You'll notice step number 1 is identify a business problem. We don't start really talking about parts until we get down here. Whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7th step in the process. Parts are important for us, and we can certainly print parts. But if you start thinking about, hey, I want to print this part, understanding why you want to print that part and what's important with that part, and if you print it, how does that change with how you do it today? How does that benefit your business? That's what's most important. So think about that first before you do anything else. And then your success at the end is much more likely than if you start thinking about parts. So if we understand why we're going to do it, the next question is, what are we going to do? How do we actually begin the journey? What do we start thinking about? Where do we go from here? How do we know we're going to be successful? What do we do next? So this is the most complicated slide I have in my deck. And you'll notice as I've come through this so far, I like my slides to be very simple. This sort of shows a distributed manufacturing diagram with parts up here in the cloud, a distributed set of printers potentially all around the world. Managed from the top on which parts go into our cloud inventory, how are they approved, who puts them in there, who's allowed to print them, how do we make sure the right parts printing in the right printer at the right time from the right person. This is what it looks like. I'm going to come back to this slide in a little bit. Again, this is the most complicated slide I have. You can talk about it for 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know what worry with that. But let's go to the next slide. First and foremost, the system that you create, or the system you use, should be easy. From beginning to end. How do I get parts into the system? What sort of data does it need? Once it goes in there, how do I set it up to actually print? When I print it, what happens at the printer? What do I have to do with it? How do I put material in it? How do I take the part off? How do I know the part's correct? Do I have to do any post-processing to that part, or is it good to go as it comes off the machine? The system should be easy at all those steps. We talked earlier about labor and having highly skilled workers, and what do we do there? Where does that fit into all of those steps with the digital manufacturing system? I want my highly skilled labor doing the highly skilled job that I need them to do. I may not need that for the operation of some of these printers, or at least moving parts off, loading material, those pieces and parts of it. So ease of use should be critical, or how easy is it for what you want to do and how to make it operate. Besides that, reliability is critical. So if you're going to go down this road and you're going to rely on your printer to get parts for you, the printer has to work every day. It has to be extremely reliable. You can't have it in some remote factory someplace and say, I need my part, and then it not work. So reliability is critical. That goes along with maintenance and making sure that versus fixing it when it's broke and doing actual preventative maintenance in a timely manner to make sure it's always ready to go is critical. What sort of materials can I put through my machine? This is a common question we get asked all the time. A lot of times it's material, it's required characteristics instead of a specific material type. So you may get the part today from whatever, aluminum, but based on the characteristics of the part, it may not need to be printed in aluminum, it may be able to be printed some other way. So required characteristics is important. Availability, how can I get my hands on the material when I need it? Is it difficult to get? Is it easy to get? And then finally, what's it going to cost me? Is it going to cost me more than my existing material that I get? Am I saving money here? Is it costing me more money? But the most important part of this is really thinking about what do I need the part to do? What are those characteristics? And then drive your material choices from there. Security and user access. I briefly touched on this, but this becomes really critical, especially when you think about intellectual property requirements and the risk of that part. At Markforged, we use the cloud-based system. It's ISO certified to be secure. There's no risk there. Things that people don't think about is how is that print file delivered to the printer? Do I put it on a USB stick and plug it into the side? Is it a wired network? Is it wireless? If it's on a USB stick, does that thing grow legs and walk out the door with somebody? What happens there? Every piece of the puzzle in between, from the creation of that model to printing the physical object, should be secure so you can understand that your IP is protected. That's part of the entire system. Revision control is another piece of that. If I have 6 revisions of that part laying out there in the cloud, how do I know the right ones being fed to the right printer at the right time so I'm printing the right part? I'm not printing a part that was created 3 months ago or 3 weeks ago. And then user access. Who has the ability of it? Who can put the parts into the system? Who can verify that that's the right part? Who can pull the parts out of the system and actually have them print? Who manages all of that? How is that controlled? I may have 50 users in the system, but user A may be the person that loads them in, and user 25 operates printer number 6 and only has access to 3 different parts because that's all we need there. Controlling all of that and having a system that can manage it is critical, especially as that system grows and you start to rely on it more and more, and it gets distributed across multiple facilities, potentially all around the world. And then future-proof. This is always a tricky thing. I want to invest in a system today, and I want to make sure it's going to meet my needs tomorrow or next week or 3 years down the road. What are those needs? A lot of them we've already talked about. Security. Security changes, right? What we consider as a secure system today is different than what we consider as a secure system 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. What's it going to look like in 2 or 3 years? Is my platform built to be ready for that? Users come and go. If a user walks out the door, how do I manage that access that that person had? How do I get to somebody else? Materials. The system that I have, is it limited to a certain number of materials? Are more materials added to it? Material science is obviously very interesting to me, especially in this space today. So what materials are coming down the pipe? How does my system use those materials down the road? What am I going to do with them as they go? So future-proofing is tricky. It's easy to say and hard to do, but it is certainly something that should be considered as systems are built and implemented. And then finally, the last part of this is how. Okay, we've talked about what are we going to do, why are we going to do it. Now, how do we actually implement it? And this goes back to my super complicated slide. The digital parts inventories. I've seen digital parts inventories with just one single part in it, and that's what it's based off of. I've seen it with hundreds of parts in it, tons of different file folders, lots of different things. We have a very large global customer that manages their digital inventory from one location in the US. They have distributed printers, you can see down here on the bottom, in 15 locations all around the world. Some of those printers can print some of those parts, and they manage it from Colorado, Denver. What parts go to which printers, when can they print them, and how can they print them. So all of their parts are managed out of one location. They're all out on the cloud. As they do revisions, they will grandfather parts and put new ones in there. The software is set up so that the STL file comes in, it is a print file is created, that print file is locked. And even if a new STL file comes in, the print file doesn't change until that part gets approved and can be fed through the system. So it is, with a single card inventory and a single printer, it's pretty straightforward. It's not all that complicated, but the system should have the ability to add future-proof to go so that you can implement around the world or wherever you need it to work, when you need it to work. From a very simple level, think about installations and setup. Who's going to come install my printer? Who's going to plug it in? Do I need to do something special? What's the facility requirements need for it to work? Training of operators, and operator training goes lots of different ways. It goes from who is bringing in my models, who's putting them in the slicer, who's creating the part and setting it up to print, who's actually operating the printer, who's putting material into it, who's taking parts off of it, who's doing that work, who's doing the maintenance, the service of that printer as we use it and need support, how does that all fit in place. DFAM is a term that Markforged uses a lot. A lot of times the part that we design for traditional manufacturing will work on the 3D printer, but if you modify that design, it may print better, it may print faster, it may print stronger, it may make it easier to use. So DFAM is a critical part. How do we educate folks with DFAM? How does people learn how to actually design parts for additive manufacturing versus subtractive manufacturing? Part approval and control is critical for this. If a part gets approved and you don't control that, potentially the slicer reslices it, new tool paths are created. All of a sudden, the part you're printing is not the part that's approved, and it may cause issues, especially for yourself, customers down the road. And then quality control could be part of your system, it could be external, depends on what your requirements are. Some people inspect parts from the part that makes it. Other people say you can't do that. The machine that made it shouldn't be inspecting it, something else should be doing that. So there's a bit of a conflict there, but your system should tell you what to do. It has to be part of it as you implement it through. So then finally, just a couple of real quick conclusions. Start with the end in mind. So define your clear business objectives. Why you need to go down this path. Don't just go down it because it's a popular thing to do. It's interesting. Once you understand those goals that define what's critical for success, this is what I want to accomplish, how do I need to do that, what's that going to look like? And then finally, you have to execute it with people, process, and technology. All of that is part of it. Obviously, I do a lot of the technology side of it, but our customers are where the people and the processes come into it. We can help them with that, but with one piece of those three parts doesn't get you to where you have to be for success. You have to have all three pieces. And getting the right people, the best technology, and clear processes is how you're successful there. All right. That, like 20 minutes, I believe I'm going to take it on time. And Jeff, thanks for having me. Anybody have any questions? I will be around, so those of you that have technical questions or questions as you have, track you down.
He's in the back,
yeah,
so make sure you find him. Awesome,
Right,
thank you, Rod. All right, so just a couple more things, and we're going to do something a little fun with our Tiger team. If you guys were here at our event back in October, we introduced our Tiger team. And what we told you is our Tiger team is our think tank. This is our Industry 4.0 partners. We meet once a month to talk about what's happening in the space, the businesses that we're working with, ways to get that messaging out to you. We've invited them all here today. So we're going to do this in a fun manner. But before we go there, in the beginning we got to see a video of our county executive, Mark Hackle. There's a little teaser that he might be able to show up. Actually, he's here. Mark, if you can stand up and say hello to the group. I'll be bringing the microphone around, Mark. I know you never give up that chance to give up the mic, so I'll be coming to you. All right, once we introduce the Tiger team, you guys are gonna get up, you're gonna network again. You guys are a very talkative group. But I do wanna actually point someone out that's here with us today. Lila, can you stand up, Lila? Lila is a student. She actually graduated with the robotics certification program through Macomb Community College. Lila's looking for a job. Robotic technician here. I know we have some major employers. She has resumes, so feel free to reach out to Lila. She's wearing the nice purple hat, so you can't miss her. But Lila, you're gonna end up being like the shark in the room. They're gonna come to you. All right, so with that, I'm gonna do some walking around. If I could have the Tiger team, if you guys can go to your respective booth, your vendor areas, we're gonna pass the microphone around. The rules still apply. You have 30 seconds to do your elevator pitch. Tell us what you're doing, what your organization does, so that everyone in the room is very familiar with that. And then after that, we'll open up the floor to networking, and then we'll do the prize drawing at the very end. And so, our very first Tiger team member is our very own. It is Make Macomb Your Home, and from our department is Jack Johns.
Hello, I'm Jack Johns. I work for Macomb County's Planning and Economic Development team. We're the ones holding the event today. When you work with the business development team, we actually can help you search for available properties and also the facilities. We look for grants that can help you, and also we'll let you know when and how to apply. We bring awareness to Industry 4.0 through events like this, and also we have a new website called MacombNext.com. We connect with partner agencies where we can help you with workforce incentives and also tax incentives and any other resources that are out there. We also work with partner agencies for financing needs and inform you of any network and buyer events along with any business that's looking for your types of services. And the last couple of things, if you want to meet with us and learn more, please stop by our booth here or also visit MacombBusiness.com. And I want to say thank you for making Macomb County your business home.
Hi everybody, good morning. I'm Mike Kelly from Wayne State. Happy to be here. Of course, we have comprehensive university research, 350 degree programs, many in our College of Engineering and School of Business, things like social media, big data, cybersecurity, robotics, electric vehicles, all accessible through our degree programs, of course, but also through our executive and professional development program. You don't have to be an admitted student. We're here to help the business community. We make Macomb our home. We have 3 locations. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, they're sticking good with the 30 seconds. Good job, Jack. Good job, Mike. All right, let's go to Oakland University.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vicky from Oakland University. Thanks for organizing this great event. We have many ways to engage with local talent and local industry. We offer programs in industrial engineering, both all bachelor's and graduate programs are offered. We have Industry 4.0 tools directly embedded into our programs, so definitely reach out to us for anything related to upskilling your employees, any questions related to research projects, or if you want to join our team as a student. Stop by here or reach out via email at oakland.edu. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Betts from Automation Alley, and this is Julie Belanger from Automation Alley. We see that y'all love coming to events. We've got a great big one coming up on May 10th in Novi called Integrate. Every Michigan manufacturer is entitled to a free ticket to come to that. You can come sign up here or you can go online and do that, as well as a membership in Automation Alley, which is Michigan's Knowledge Center for Industry 4.0. So we want to get you engaged to learn about the technologies, learn what path is right for you, similar to what Heidi was talking about. So please stop by, come out to Integrate. I run the accelerator program for Automation Alley. We've got 18 of our accelerator companies. These are startups developing these same technologies that can transform their business. So come on over and see us, and I hope to see you all in May.
Hi, I'm Margie Jenkins. I'm with Mars, Macomb Automation Robotics Zone. We're doing stuff for K through 12, trying to get STEM and robotics in more schools and in the hands of children in Macomb. Our big goal is to have a resource for all of STEM and robotics in Macomb to be able to go and have classes and camps, and also just to get kids more active in STEM and realize that it doesn't have to be scary, or you don't have to be interested in like machining. There's great other things to do in that area. One of the things we have going on right now is a mobile STEM workshop where I would come and do an hour with any group from K through 8 right now. We're hopeful that we'll have some programming for high school students as well. And I have some fun little demos of the examples right up here. So come on by and say hi.
Good morning, I'm Rachel Downs. I'm a community and economic development consultant, and I'm the entrepreneur in residence for the Velocity Innovation Center in Sterling Heights. We are the Center for Entrepreneurship in Macomb County, and I'm here on behalf of April Boyle. We offer world-class office, co-working, and event space at the Velocity Innovation Center, as well as technical assistance and wraparound services to ensure that new startups and businesses that are poised for growth can get connected to all the great programs and resources throughout the state. I'm also a licensed school counselor, and I'm super excited to see the focus and attention on the K through 16 space here today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Rouse. I'm with Macomb Community College. We provide training to individuals and businesses like yourselves because we listen and engage with all of you to create customized training to meet your needs. We have the traditional 2-year model that obviously leads up to the associate's degree, but we also offer the customized training, if you will. You heard today on apprenticeship programs, we have internships, as well as hourly based training to meet your demands, such as we're going to be providing some free training available to all of those here in the room on Fusion 360 coming up soon, so come by and talk to my team about that. That includes the generative design model, which will assist you in that transformation from subtractive manufacturing to additive. A really, really exciting product there that gets you started, as well as we have an IT summit that's coming up that'll be very, very valuable to most in the room. So we appreciate it. Just stop by and talk to our team. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Aligo. I'm with Macomb St. Clair Michigan Works. And if you've heard of our organization, you've probably heard of our services to job seekers. But this morning, I want to emphasize that we do have a team that's dedicated to serving employers. So if you have any interest or questions on things like apprenticeships, on-the-job training contracts, the Going Pro Talent Fund was briefly mentioned. That's the training grant to help train current and new hires, current employees and new hires. Or you just need some general assistance with filling any of your open job positions, please stop by our table or reach out to us, and we will help however we can. Thank you.
All right, good job keeping in the 30 seconds. Patrick, I did catch you were talking fast, so I put the pressure on you. All right, Mark, are you going to pass it up? I'm going to take it.
Never shy for a moment. So with that being said, I just want to thank obviously our planning department, Vicky Rowinski and her team. They do a great job. I look at our planning department, and we want to be your business partner. I mean, whatever it takes to try to figure out how to make you successful, that's what we're in the business of. And you don't often hear that from government. You find that they're often out there trying to figure out how they basically sometimes get in the way and create a red tape. We're trying to figure out how do we get through that process to help you. And I can tell you, just looking at what you've got around here, the industry support that you have, the educational support, along with our planning department, we try to make those connections, and we were trying to figure out what we can do to continue to help you become successful here in Macomb County. We want to see you thrive. We care about your business. And again, 24/7, you need to get all these folks. Please do not hesitate. We want to make those connections and make it happen. So again, to Vicky and her team, thank you, and a round of applause for the efforts that they are doing on your behalf. And again, we appreciate what you do for Macomb County. Thank you.
Awesome, Mark, kept it under 30 seconds. Good job. All right, over here we've got Lyft.
My name is Joe Steele, and with Lyft, we are the Department of Defense Manufacturing Innovation Institute. We are based down in Corktown neighborhood of Detroit, but last year we were very proud to open up a second facility here in Sterling Heights. So glad to be here in Macomb. We are a nonprofit public-private partnership between the Department of Defense, industry, and academia, hoping to transition technologies across the Valley of Death into commercialization so our warfighters and the industry can utilize these technologies quicker than before. We also help students earn certifications in welding, robotics, CNC, industrial technology maintenance across the country with programs geared towards high school students, incumbent workers, and those specifically designed for National Guard and Reserve members. So if you are a Guard member or Reserve, please reach out to us looking for a new skill, upskill. We'd be happy to help you. Thank you very much.
All right, and then back here in the corner with all their demos and toys, we got MMTC.
I'm Pete Schmidt with Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center. We're a nonprofit partially funded by the state of Michigan and the federal government. We help manufacturers through consultation and training to become more profitable and more efficient. We do that through different forms of training in lean manufacturing, quality management systems, and pretty much anything you need to help your business. The thing we're doing now with the MEDC, they're helping companies do their technology assessments, which Vicky did. It's a 2-hour assessment. We look at your business from the front end all the way to the shipping department and see which Industry 4.0 technologies can help you become more efficient. And we also look at lean manufacturing in that assessment.
All right, and then we also have two vendors that are part of Project Diamond with us today. You did hear from Markforged, but we also have Light Guide Systems, so feel free to reach out to them during the break. And so with that, you know, as part of our closing remarks, when we look at putting on an event, packing a room, we're actually sold out, so thank you for being part of that. It really does take a team, and I want to give thanks to Macomb County Planning and Economic Development, our marketing communications, all those who worked behind the scenes, making sure that we had tables and chairs. You know, there was a moment where we didn't have enough chairs, and so I want to thank the team for working with me. I know sometimes I'm crazy, but I wanted to make sure this room was packed and that we could have the chairs, but they made that happen. So can we give a round of applause to the team? And I also want to thank the venue. In the very beginning, I was actually supposed to introduce, I'm not sure, did he come back, Dave? No, he has not come back. There is the option for a tour if you have not been here at the Packard Proving Ground. So if you are interested in that tour, you know, come see myself or Maria. We can get you set up with Renee, I believe that is. But it's a phenomenal facility, so you know, thank you to the venue. And so with that, I believe we're going to do some prize drawing. So if we could have Haley, I think you're going to be our band of light. All right, so we got 3 different prize things going on here. Do we want to start off with MMTC? I think, Pete, you were going to do, they've got a dragon. Didn't get the dragon, we got the picnic blanket. All right, come check out this dragon.
With the water bottle, the manufacturer will give away 5 free gifts of our training classes. Get one free.
Frank Balsamo.
Which company?
Okay, perfect.
Here, I'll put the mic right up here.
Pete, you can't mention yourself.
No, that's the name on the back.
Oh, okay.
Aishida Pandey.
Congrats. She gets the dragon.
I have Daxton Pocket. Daxton, perfect.
Matthew Poliman. Perfect.
from PTI, I have Muhammad Alami. I probably butchered that, I'm sorry.
All right, so we got light guide.
All right, we're coming.
He's coming with the goodies.
I have from Elite Mold and Engineering, Paul Petrash. Muhammad, you won again. From Precision Machining and Plastic Injection Tool, I have Heidi Devroy. And then from PTI, I have Chris Ozaborski.
Awesome. All right, so that actually actually Dave is here from Packard. He's a volunteer here at the Packard Proving Ground. So I want to give him a minute to talk about the venue that you have spent the past 2 hours in. All right.
I wanted to make sure you guys forgot.
There.
Hi there. Welcome to the Packard Proving Grounds. I'm going to take you from the future back to the past. The Proving Grounds was built in 1928, and it encompassed 560 acres of a big, giant 2.5-mile oval track, 4 lanes, and the corners were banked so that you could go in at 100 miles an hour, let go of the steering wheel, and the car would just follow right around. There's 3 main buildings. The first one is the lodge out there. That in those days, and still today, even at the General Motors Proving Grounds, the manager of the Proving Ground and his family lived right on the grounds. So the front half of that is a 2-story, 3-bedroom, 3-bath home for the manager, and he managed it all the way up to the Second World War. And then the rest of the lodge is a big parking area, 5-6 stalls, so the executives from downtown Detroit could come out here, and it would take them half a day in those days, and they could stay overnight. There are 5 bedrooms upstairs, so they could view everything that was going on here at the Proving Grounds. So that's the lodge. This room here is called the repair garage. This is where all the experimental Packards were built and put together, and then they would go out on the track, and the basic rule was the car had to go 10,000 miles before breaking down, and that's what they did in those days. There were 17 miles of test track that was in the west-south corner of this property, and that had test roads full of mud, and water, and sand, and railroad ties, so the cars were driven over the railroad ties, and that's how they tested the vehicles. And then they would bring them back here after 10,000 miles, take them all apart in this room, and see what broke, what's lived, and so forth and so on. Packard was the Rolls-Royce of the United States. They outsold Lincoln and Cadillac combined up to the Second World War. So they're a very expensive car. very well known around the world. Now the final building is the tank building. When the Second World War broke out, Roosevelt shut all the auto plants down, and we started building war material. Packard built the Merlin fighter plane engines for the P-51, the P-38, supplied the fighter plane engines for all over the world for the Second World War, built about 55,000 of those engines. Packard also built great marine engines, and we have PT boat engines out here. We'll show you a model of a PT boat. And then we have Minesweeper out there, a big engine for the minesweepers. And Packard also built aircraft engines. A 9-cylinder diesel aircraft engine was built by Packard. And it flew over here, and it was the first time in the world that a man could talk from the ground to the airplane by a radio. And so that was and Charles Vinson, the man who ran Packard Proving Grounds, came up with that whole circuitry. So Packard was the first to do that. So we'll have tours for you. We're going to take you out to the tank building and show you the cars. We have 18 cars, Packards, to look at, and some other interesting artifacts. So those who want to go, it'll take us about half an hour to do a tour. And so I'll be over here at the door, and we have some more docents that'll help us break you up into little teams. And so thanks a lot for using the Proving Grounds, and hope you enjoyed yourself.
All right, just on a final note, if you like hanging out with us, we will be at the Integrate event coming up in May. That's the Automation Alley event. We will also be at Automate. That is a big conference coming to Detroit. More details, more information can be found on the MacomBnext.com website, so feel free to visit there, or you can visit Automation Alley or our booth for more details. Thank you, everyone. Great seeing you.